So we've been talking about the repeal and replacement of Obamacare, and which is apparently going to be voted on today. If it has not, Jonathan, you've been paying almost no attention to the radio show.
I'm
and
surfing
looking at
the
tweets.
Twitters.
You've been surfing the Twitters the entire radio show.
That's right.
Is there any ETA on the expected vote? I know it's happening this afternoon on East Coast time.
Originally, there was a rumor, I think, that they would do it as early as 9 a.m. Eastern.
Well, clearly that didn't happen.
That did not happen. Then they were saying maybe noon Eastern. But I think what they've done instead is they've done a little change. Right now, as we speak, 9 Pacific, noon Eastern, they are doing the signing ceremony for the executive order from President Trump.
Okay. Well,
So
the executive order, which we will be talking about later
Yes.
in the show. In the meantime, we've Jonathan found an interesting little storm of tweets that he happened to find from a former professor of mine, Father Bill Daley, of the who's a used to be a professor at Notre Dame Law School and is a professor at Notre Dame.
Director of the Notre Dame Newman Center for Faith and Reason.
Yeah, they shipped him out to Ireland,
Dublin.
to Dublin.
That's a tough gig.
But he's
an Irish priest or a Catholic priest being sent back to Ireland. I mean, that is a
but
purgatory.
He's a good guy. He's pretty conservative, and he's a scholar on different issues relating to immigration law and other things. He's an attorney and was one of my law professors, and actually gave the homily at my wedding. So, Jonathan, you have the little tweet storm from him?
I do. It's short, but this is very interesting, just talking about the whole issue of Planned Parenthood defunding, which, just as a side note, Mike Pence yesterday, Vice President Pence, spoke for the Susan B. Anthony List gala last night in Washington, D.C., which our friends Kelly Fedoruk, Lila Rose, and Arena Gross, who all attended.
Okay.
And this is Mike Pence announced that Planned Parenthood defunding would be a part of this bill voted on today. So this is what Father Daley said. That needlessly long New York Times profile of Ivanka had a revealing bit about Planned Parenthood, noting her moderate proposal to split Planned Parenthood into two, with the smaller arm, quote unquote, to provide the abortion, and then the other for all the uncontroversial women's services touted by fans of Planned Parenthood funding. So as to keep federal funding for the latter, the Times reported, quote, but Planned Parenthood officials said they thought Ms. Trump's advice was naive, failing to understand how central reproductive choice was to the group's mission, unquote. And then Father Daley continues, but this is precisely what Planned Parenthood defenders and Planned Parenthood itself routinely deny.
Right.
Despite PP being the largest abortion provider by far, the claim of abortion being only 3% of Planned Parenthood services, I'm sorry, then he changed it a little bit here. The Ivanka proposal calls this bluff, the 3% bluff. Of course, abortion is central to the purpose and identity of Planned Parenthood. And the claim that federal funding is unrelated to that or unimportant to that were always going to be completely disingenuous. But Planned Parenthood defenders want it both ways. They want to be given, when they're given a fair and separate offer of funding for their operations, the 3% pretense is abandoned. And that's why Cecile Richards, this is Jonathan talking now, that's why Cecile Richards said, no, I mean, abortion is as central to our mission. She says it's as central to our mission as birth control and cancer screenings.
Right. And this is the great dance that Planned Parenthood has had to do. And I'm actually this is actually really interesting how that Ivanka was kind of central to all of this. So Ivanka is clearly, I think, one of the more liberal voices within the Trump administration. And there have been a lot of conservatives and pro-life people who have been a little nervous. Like, why is she having so much influence here? I mean, the only reason she does is because she's biologically related to Trump, and we didn't vote for Ivanka. Conservatives who voted for Trump said, we didn't vote for Ivanka. We voted for Donald Trump and for the conservative policies he
so you thought.
But I'm actually kind of impressed that this was what Ivanka was trying to do. I mean, it was a good faith effort by the Trump administration towards Planned Parenthood to say, hey, look, we'll keep giving you money if you separate the two entities. And it's basically what they're combating is the reality that money is fungible. Mm-hmm. So the fact that Planned Parenthood was given, what's being taken away by this new bill is basically $500 million in funding that goes towards non-abortion services. Okay, so things like birth control, things like, different kinds of services, like basic cancer screenings and different services like that. Things that are not actually big revenue drivers for Planned Parenthood.
They cost money.
They cost them money. So basically, what's happening is
You can't put a big markup on, a well woman visit or a pap smear or et cetera.
So what's happening is the federal government is subsidizing all of Planned Parenthood's less profitable activities to the tune of $500 million, which is about half of Planned Parenthood's annual revenue. And then Planned Parenthood can devote all of its other resources towards the thing that is their biggest driver of revenue other than donations and government funding, which is abortion. Abortion is obviously a bigger driver of revenue. It costs more. It's more expensive. It's a surgical procedure. You can charge way more for it, and you can get insurance to pay for it. And you can get, in some states where they're such dupes that they'll let their state governments pay for abortion, like California, you can even get the state government to pay for it.
It also, John, because it is a much more controversial procedure, I would argue that it is much less likely to be driven downward by market forces. Because in theory, say in the city of Fresno, there's probably a dozen, 2 dozen, 5 dozen places where you can go and get many of these other services that Planned Parenthood offers.
Yeah.
But there's only 2 abortion clinics.
Right, exactly.
They only have to compete with each other. So it's a lot easier to mark up dramatically.
Right.
And in this case, the abortion clinics, Family Planning Associates and Planned Parenthood, they each have a vested interest in creating as high a margin as possible so that they can overbill Medicaid and Medicare. Oh, I'm sorry, not Medicare, but they can overbill Medicaid, Medi-Cal. They can overbill insurance, and they can pad their revenue through abortion. And there's not a third-party competition. Rite Aid isn't going to come in and start saying, "Hey, we can offer abortions for cheaper."
Yeah, no, and it's kind of the concept of an oligopoly. So basically that if you have very few people who control the entire market, it's advantageous to them not to compete with each other so that they can all keep their prices high and still make a lot of money. So, it's good to see that Planned Parenthood has revealed their true face, that abortion is what they're about, and as a result, they're going to lose all their money. And that's a good day for America when abortion providers lose money.